Oh, yeah, that is that music. What does that mean? It's city business time. This is James Moore. You're listening to solar-powered KRUU-FM, broadcasting from the sunny confines of the Cultural District here in Fairfield, Iowa. The solar panels are almost sneaking through the ice there. We've had some pretty frigid weather. Speaking of frigid weather, we have a polar plunger joining us in the studio, City Councilman Michael Halley. I believe he's still City Councilman after that polar plunge, but we're bringing you the latest from City Council. We'll talk about that little jump in the water for a very good cause in just a moment, but every Tuesday, 12:30 p.m., Thursday, 6:30 p.m. dinner time, and then the following Monday, you can catch up on what's happening in City Council, 6:30 a.m., and then the opposite week, we have our state representative, Kurt Hansen, who fills us in what's happening from the State House. We'll also get the county in the rotation as well very, very soon. Michael Halley, how you doing? You're looking good today.
I'm good. I feel so good after that brisk plunge into the icy waters.
Did it brace you up pretty good?
Yeah, it makes you feel really alive.
It looked like quite a hole to get through.
15 inches of ice.
Wow, 15 inches. Was the water actually warmer than what? I guess it was warmer.
It was warmer than the air temperature that day. So I plunged with my buddy John Loyne. He's done it 5 years. I've done it 3.
Nice.
And we both had the same experience. The water pretty much feels the same year to year. If it's going to be around 32 degrees because it's water and it's not ice.
Of course, 32 is still pretty chilly for the old...
It's pretty cold, yeah.
In other words, it's not quite 30 or 40 or 50 below.
Yeah.
It would be solid ice. But how many folks... It looked like Werner Elmker got a great shot of somebody in pink shorts sideways. But
we had about between 20 and 24 plungers. Raised about $2,500 towards tree replanting on our public parks. So,
Emerald ash borer?
Yeah, replacing. You know, the O.B. Nelson Park, for example, is 75% ash trees. So that's a huge replanting project.
It is.
There.
I've noticed in reading around the state, I think there are more counties. I know if it's up to 4, 5, or 6 counties that kind of spreading. I guess that's what it does, doesn't it, in Iowa?
Yeah, just they found it in Waterloo, and now the quarantine zone has expanded to the entire state of Iowa. So the entire state of Illinois, the entire state of Missouri, now all of Iowa is under the quarantine. I could talk about that another time when we have more tree issues to discuss.
Which will come up, yeah.
Yeah, we will actually, because I'm working on our new tree ordinance. Hopefully be ready to start voting on it at our next council meeting. But for today, I will review our regular council meeting.
City council meeting. Which one are we talking about?
February 10th, 2014. All right, we did our consent agenda, which is just our basic business of approving minutes from our last meeting, hiring park and rec employees, and some liquor licenses, and our claims for the month. We moved on. We heard from 2 people who requested to speak to the council. The first was Rustin Lippincott. He gave an annual report for the Fairfield Arts Convention Center.
Great.
It's very busy over there. This last year, he was reporting had a significant increase in events from the year before, and they're just really becoming a good place for both local organization, local performers to come in, and then bringing in out-of-towners. On their list of achievements for last year was hosting the inaugural Fairfest.
Right.
So they feel that that's something to be proud of.
Yep, co-hosting. It was a great effort, and we're looking forward to the next one for sure.
Yep.
But they have been doing just a marvelous job, and I think last time we spoke about the gala where they got together and with the auction and all that, and just a great staff, a good vibe over there. It's really something to see. So, yeah, nice job, Rustin and everybody there.
Everybody, yeah, great job. Just to clarify, though, how this works is the city voters decided in 2010 to purchase the building, and we're still paying that off. We're using local option sales tax funds to pay that off. Mm-hmm. We got a really great deal on the building. We got it for considerably less than it was appraised for. So that's good business. And then we are leasing, the city is leasing the space to the Fairfield Arts and Convention Center board. And the agreement is as long as they maintain the building, then we don't charge them. It's like $1 a year, some nominal fee, as long as they maintain the building. So part of this report is, well, what are your capital improvements, or how is it going in terms of, it's a 7-year-old building, how's it being maintained? So we heard a little bit about that, and it is being maintained well. But beyond that, that's the agreement between the city and the Arts Convention Center. There are no city funds that pay for anything over there. They cover everything in terms of building upkeep, utilities, and then all their operational expenses. They still do rely about a third on donations for their annual budget. And I suppose I've heard that's standard for these kind of facilities. But they have expanded quite a bit of events and bringing in more income with ticket sales and events in the pavilion side of the building. So that's just a clarification. Sometimes people think we bailed out the convention center. The city did not bail anyone out. We bought a building at a significantly reduced price, and we are allowing this group to lease it and use it as long as they can maintain it.
Well, I've said it before. It's the least you can do for a great facility. We're pro arts and culture here for sure.
Yep.
And, well, great job. So, Rustin, you said there was somebody else, too, that presented?
Yep. So next we heard from Mr. Eric Stacklin on behalf of the Fairfield Volleyball Club. He had written a letter to the council members and the mayor asking for a commitment that the new gym project will include volleyball courts. He also brought 2 site plans that would allow for the existing courts to remain, and then the new gym built to the west of that. As I reminded him, there are many factors in building. When he proposed this plan, he and a few others from the group proposed this plan to the task force facilities group. We had a rep from our building company, and he said, well, let me take a look at it. He said there are considerations even in terms of roof design. Can the new building handle having a taller building built up next to it with all the snow and rain runoff falling down? Things like that you never really consider, but a builder would be able to consider. Another thing was this plan pushed the whole gym a little bit to the west, and I know a little bit about the topography of the land that the city purchased. It does fall off, begins to go downhill as it goes west. So if you're going to move it that way, you might be talking about moving in more earth to build up at grade. So there's a lot of factors. We don't know exactly how this is going to go. We don't even have a total budget. What we do know is on March 4th, county residents in the unincorporated area will have a chance to vote yes or no to contribute $1 million to a $10 million project. City voters years ago said yes to $3 million. So we feel that asking the county for $1 million for same access at the same price is fair. Actually, city residents pay for the operation through their taxes, as county residents don't. So in a sense, the city residents are bearing the brunt of this. So we want to see if the county will step up, help us out, pitch in, and if they do, we'll have a better chance of getting some funds from the community attraction and tourism, the CAT grant that we're trying to get. We've asked for 1.8. So 2 very important funding opportunities here. And in terms of the volleyball and racquetball court, they wanted to ask the council, will you make a formal declaration that these courts will be included? So I went ahead and made the motion because this new gym was all about adding amenities to our existing recreation options, not taking anything away, that the court should remain, either the existing courts remain, or if we do take them out, new ones are built. And then Doug Flournoy added an amendment that if the new ones are built, they are not phased in later, but built along with the rest of the gym. And I accepted that amendment, and it passed unanimously. So I spoke with Andy Hallman over at the Ledger, Fairfield Ledger today, and he asked me if that's legally binding. I said, I'm not sure if it's legally binding, but it is a statement from the council letting the task force know this is the project we'll accept. We won't accept a project that doesn't include these racquetball courts in it. So it's formal in that way, and it does send a message that we do support those facilities, and we want to add on rather than take anything away. So if anyone was ever considering taking them away and not replacing them, that was a dead end, and it's better to let them know now. that's not a viable option. That's not an option that the council would ever consider accepting.
Now, wasn't there some option or talk of moving them, or is that something else?
Well, there is talk that MUM
That's what I remember.
may want to take one.
I see.
One or two, but they don't have the funds for it, so someone will have to fundraise for that. That was an option in terms of if it moves ahead, that the existing racquetball building is taken down and then new ones are built, there would be a period of time during construction where there wouldn't be access to any. And there are quite a few volleyball enthusiasts. They play 3 times a week. I saw them playing last Thursday, filling 2 courts. Had games going in 2 courts. The 3rd court was full of gymnastics kids. So this facility is very well used and would be missed. Now the gymnastics people are trying to build their own new building south of the indoor pool. There's some land there, fundraising on their own separately from the new gym. That's a different project. Equally important. That gymnastics program is very popular and growing and producing some national champions in different areas. So there's so much going on at the Parks and Rec right now. It's hard to kind of keep tabs on all of it, but that's what we're talking about is trying to. Well, it would be ideal to maintain a space, even if there was a period of construction, and that's where MUM comes in. Could we move a court over there so that the community had access to at least one court, where the other one's unavailable until the end of construction? It's just a question mark at this point. No one knows what we're doing yet.
Great. I want to remind listeners we're getting caught up on what's happening at the City Council. This is James Moore at Solar Powered KRUU-FM, the Midwest's only solar-powered radio station, broadcasting at 100.1 on your FM dial. We got a call last night saying, "Are you KHOE?" And we said no, but it said KRUU. I said, no, we tried to get K-Towny, but we couldn't get it. We just had a couple of choices when we started. We said KRUU, but at any rate, 100, not 92, all good. Everything's good. You should go everywhere on the dial. We like what we broadcast here because, well, it's our station. But just reminding you, 100.1 FM and also KRUU-FM on your FM dial. And we bring you the city haps after each city council meeting. The following lunchtime, 12:30, Thursday's dinner time, 6:30 p.m., and then the Monday after that, which would be breakfast time, 6:30 a.m., because we want you to know what's going on at City Hall. So speaking of City Hall, we have with us, and we are very grateful, not only that Michael Halley, our 4th Ward councilman, comes in and updates us on this stuff, but also FMC, the Fairfield Media Center, videotaping this segment. They're also at City Council as well, but we appreciate, Jason, all the work going on there. So back to City Haps. What else is snuffifizing?
All right, we moved on to our resolution, action items, and ordinances. We set an action item to set a public hearing for the wastewater Phase 1 project. That'll be Monday, February 24th at 7, which is our next regular council meeting. This hearing is actually not required. We've done the required hearing. This is an additional one that we felt was a courtesy because Phase 1 of this plan will involve some various properties that are adjacent to the wastewater plant and may affect the property owners.
So what's that date again, just so it's very clear? And
February 24th
at
7 p.m. City Hall.
City Hall. So
yeah,
there you go.
It's our regular council meeting. The Water and Sewer Utilities Committee should be meeting, I believe it's Monday the 21st. I don't know if that's been set, but it was talked about that evening at City Hall to discuss this even more.
And again, people can check on the website.
Yeah,
right?
the city's website. It's in the Fairfield Ledger. It's on the city's Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't liked it, go ahead and like it. Radio. So,
and that's the city page is simply
what is it called?
Fairfield
City Government.
Something like that. If you Google Mr. Google Fairfield, Iowa City Government, it'll come up too. So
So there's that. We'll talk about that more when there's something to talk about. That's just a public hearing. We had a tax abatement for a property on the square that a gentleman is really putting a lot of money into to fix up this upstairs space on Broadway. and wants to put it in a contest, some sort of like best apartment on the square contest. I don't know who is running the contest, but again, when tax abatements come to us, we just pass them along to the assessor. We don't agree or disagree with whatever the person claims to have spent. And the amount he claimed to have spent was considerable for an apartment, but if the assessor says, all right, you really have raised the value by that amount, then they will get that property tax abated for 3 years as basically incentive for doing such. All right, the next two items we moved till after we had a closed session to discuss something, but I'm just going to talk about them now. They involve eminent domain, and they involve when we establish let me see here. Well, during public improvement projects, sometimes we need to use people's property for a certain purpose. So the state, 15 years ago, the state of Iowa changed the law to be more property owner friendly. So apparently for the entire history of the state, government entities like cities could use eminent domain and say, we're going to buy your property because we need to build something on it. And we'll get an appraisal and we'll give you that amount, whatever our appraisal comes in at. Well, now it's a bit more on the property owner side, that they have more process, they have more representation. In the case of not wanting to or needing to purchase the property, but just needing an easement, if it's under $10,000 this is where it gets tricky. If I'm going to use your land as an easement, say for a sewer line, it's still yours. The city's not buying it, but there are restrictions on what you can do under the easement. So we talked about this before. You can't build any sort of building. You can't move the earth around, either dig up or put extra earth on top. You have to keep it at the same grade, et cetera, et cetera. So if I'm a farmer and the city comes in and says, we need to run a sewer line through your land and we need an easement above that and a certain width so that we can get in there anytime we need to, I'm somewhat limited in what I can do with that land. Maybe I can still grow crops on it. Maybe I can still have my animals graze on it, but it is costing me something, maybe. And so that's a different process than an appraisal. It's I don't know if it's a name for it, compensation estimates. That's what it's called. How much should you be compensated for allowing us to do this? So the law says if it's under $10,000, an appraisal is not necessary. Appraisals can be time-consuming and expensive. So essentially, we've created policy for the city that is now in line with state policy. Why we waited 15 years was because we haven't needed to do this since the state law changed. Our city attorney explained. He said, I would have brought it to you sooner, but we haven't had any issues. We haven't had any time that we've needed this. The last time the city was really dealing with eminent domain was with the airport runway expansion. So this is now a wastewater plant expansion, wastewater line replacement, where you're basically digging up people's property and then you need to have an easement. That's the long-winded version. So basically, it's a good move for property owners, because if I take something, if the city, not I, but if the city takes something that used to be valuable or used to be useful and it's less useful or less valuable, there should be compensation. And there is. And there's a certain way that it's dealt with for different values. So under 10,000, no appraisal, just a compensation estimate, and there's a certain process by law that you follow. And over 10,000 appraisals, and again, there's a certain law that's followed. So that's that, and that's all in preparation for phase 1, as I mentioned earlier, of the sewer project. Essentially, there's expansion needed out at the plant, and the first portion of the sewer line to be replaced will be essentially from Lamson Wood running south to the plant itself.
I was just going to ask. So, okay, that's out in that area.
Yep, that's phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 2 will be starting to get into the city more, but that's apparently a real bottleneck area where a lot of material comes down, and just it's not, the pipes aren't wide enough to handle it. They were built so long ago, before the population grew. All right. I hope I explained that well. I always
think
try.
So. And what the name of that again is just compensation
estimates.
I mean, it's just basically a name for it. It's what it is. I mean,
and it becomes, the city doesn't designate it and then the property owner accepts it. It goes back and forth until there's agreement. That's how it's done. All right. Mayor's report. He asked if the city could contribute to funding for a promotional video. So City of Fairfield was the first city asked to be on a show called Moving America Forward.
Right.
William Shatner is one of the hosts. And
to bravely go where no man has ever gone before, or something like that.
Yeah. So they put together...
Different show, but same guy.
Well, they put together a portion for the show that features us that then we can purchase from them because, they went through the process of creating it. And I think the total was like $12,000. So the Fairfield Visitors Bureau agreed to pay for half of it. Fairfield Economic Development Association paid for a quarter. So then the city needed to float the bill for the other quarter. And so we had some funds from our city administrator explained a certain fund that had not got touched our entire fiscal year. And our fiscal year ends the end of June. And it had $10,000 in it. So we could probably pull a few thousand out of that. More on that later. The funny thing is the channel that the show airs on isn't on our local cable network. So not sure how many of us are going to be able to see it when it airs, but we will see the video. And it will be played, I'm sure, on Fairfield Media Center's both website page and on FPAC Channel 9. Hopefully it comes out well.
And when is that due to come out? Do we know? It's
a few months away. I don't know.
A few months away.
You know how it is. It's like...
Yeah, just like the show with Adrian Dowler.
Yeah, the Showville thing. It took a while to come out.
Cool.
Then we amended the Beautification Committee bylaws. Just a few amendments. One was just putting term limits. So the person, again, we talked about this, on a board that's appointed rather than elected, someone can be appointed and then without term limits, stay on forever. And an elected official would have to be reelected. So if you put term limits on, you just give a chance for some turnover. So you get fresh faces.
Yes, sir. Fresh blood, fresh perspectives.
Yep. I got to finish quickly. So committee reports, we heard from Personnel Committee. They're reviewing the tobacco policy. Currently, it's called a smoking policy, and that's not actually in accord with state law. Now it's tobacco in general. Mm-hmm. And they want to add some wellness.
By that, you mean chewing and all that? That's what they want?
Yep, not just smoking, exactly.
CHA or whatever it's called.
Yep. And then public safety and transportation, we talked a bit about just the city's portion of the Burlington and 12th Street by Hy-Vee. I'm pretty sure that's the street there by the Hy-Vee intersection. And that's going to get, it's going to be much more safe as a result of some upgrades that are coming down the line. And the city's contribution is only for a portion because Hy-Vee's contributing and the community transformation grant that the county is administrating is contributing. So it was in the paper. If you saw a nice diagram, I'll talk more about that. I think our next meeting is when we're going to, or sometime in the near future, the city will officially vote to put that in our budget for next year.
Great. And that's, so that, what does that exactly mean? We have just a minute or so, but what does that exactly mean that we're looking at?
Doing some upgrades to the sidewalks in that area and the crosswalks. We're going to do tinted concrete, was the name that everyone agreed on last night. Not stained or colored, but tinted. And so, we have the pavers downtown that designate where to cross.
Right.
We're not going to do that, but we can actually have a similar color, kind of a reddish color, tinted concrete going each direction, plus a button for pedestrians to press, plus a left turn lane coming west. So much safer, much more controlled, should lead to fewer accidents. The last thing is...
Yep, go ahead.
The Natty land that was donated to the city.
I beg your pardon?
It was...
Did you say Natty?
Natty, N-A-D-Y.
Tints and Natty? What are we getting into here?
We saw a presentation for potential development of that into trails and prairie and all sorts of nice things. So more on that as it unfolds.
And Natty again means?
It's the name of the people who owned it and donated it to the city.
Well, bless them.
Yeah, it was very sweet. And it was a conservation easement, so it's not for development, it's for conservation. We're talking prairie, we're talking orchard, we're talking trails, trees, all good things like that.
Great. Well, that's a great note to end on this. I'm seeing blue sky behind you. It's supposed to be, I think the weather's coming back, Iowa. It's a little bit of a boomerang. Been chilly. But speaking of chilly, we're out of here. This is James Moore with Council Person Michael Halley, bringing you up to snuff with City Haps. Keep it tuned right here to Solar Powered KRUU-FM. Don't go changing to try to please you. We love you just the way you are.